into the agenda for today's art business workshop. So, gonna present for a little bit. After the presentation is over, I'm going to open it up for Q&A. And I have a presentation that I think I did just last week that was pretty good. My voice is a little hoarse today, so we're gonna play that one. So you might see me change outfits, which will be a little disjointed, change my background a little bit, and then the presentation will go. And as the presentation rolls along, like I guess I say everything in the video. So we'll play this video. The video will go through, and then we will open it up on the other side for Q&A, which is always the funnest part of the thing. And if you have questions, just as things are rolling along and you want to get them out of your head, feel free to throw them in the chat. We have live agents in there that can sort of answer them and such. So you can throw whatever you like in there. And yeah, April, go ahead and get things started, and I'll see all of you guys in just a second on the other side of the video. Recognition becomes a thing. Okay, I have heard every question, I've heard of every problem, every conundrum, and then in addition to that, we have a little bit over 5,700 customers at Art Storefronts, and so we study their data. We study their data very, very closely, very, very intently, and in so doing, I get to understand who is actually selling a lot of art and photography, who's selling the most originals, who's selling the most commissions, the most prints, the most metal prints, paper prints, frame prints, who's selling the most classes, additional revenue sources, and all of those types of things. And so, I bring all that up to say, um, independent of whether you ever sign up for Art Storefronts or ever come on one of these again or ever read another email, I want the session to be valuable. I want you to be able to leave with some thoughts that you can bolt into your business and start making an impact right away, or at the very least, challenge your thinking in how you have been doing things up till now. Um, so let me get into sort of the agenda for the call, and then I'll give you some details on it. So I'm going to start with a little presentation up front. After the present, and as the presentation rolls along, I should mention I'm going to mention a number of links and reports and sites and videos and web pages and the like. A lot of those links that we'll throw into the chat, which is at the bottom. So at the bottom of your Zoom window, there's like a little chat bubble, and so you'll see a bunch of them pop in there. But don't feel like you need to click on everything or write anything down, because as soon as this thing's over, we grab the video from the session, we embed it in a web page, and we send you all the links of the various different things that we've been mentioning and talking about in the session. So that'll happen after the fact. As the show sort of rolls along, if you've got questions about anything, you want to get them out of your head, you can just throw them into the chat. And once we get to the Q&A section, I'll address those. What the substance of the presentation up top is going to be sort of how we view the art and photography markets, what constitutes the business model that you need to be practicing if you want to be successful and you really want to grow a business. And then after that, above that, is we do the demo process at Art Storefronts. What is a demo? It's like test driving the car. You get to see everything, see how everything works. And what happens when you request a demo, they're all over our site. We're going to be throwing links in here. They'll be in the emails I send you after the fact. But what happens when you do request a demo is someone from our outreach team will contact you, find out who you are, what you do, what your art's like, where your career's gone up till now. They will answer all your questions about pricing and about what we do, and then they schedule the demo, which is like a hour Zoom call essentially that walks you through all the features, all the bells and whistles, everything that we do for our customers as a business, Art Storefronts. But the presentation today sort of sits on top of all of that, because you need to sort of look at the world like we look at the world, I think, to be successful. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is turn hobbyists into paid artists, turn artists that have a side hustle into a full-time business, and continue to grow the ones that are already big. So that's sort of our raison d'etre, if you like. So without further ado, let's kick it off. And I have to sort of explain this whole thing, what I call the art selling pyramid, okay? And I believe this is a good, simple way to sort of explain the path to a successful art or photography business. In 2021 and beyond, I stole it from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're familiar with this thing or not, it's a pyramid, and you have to sort the bottom blocks. And once you sort the bottom blocks, you can sort the top blocks. So in Maslow's case, like, you know, the physiological needs, the bottom block, we all have to eat, we all have to sleep every day. Then you get up one more block and you can worry about shelter and security and getting fit and making money and then love, belonging, esteem, all that jazz. So, okay, let's start it off. So the bottom block of the art selling pyramid is attention. Okay. And no different than in Maslow's needs, how sleeping and eating is a daily need, a quotidian need. So is getting attention for you guys as artists or photographers. I know conclusively, without having to ask a single solitary one of you on this question, that every person on this call has an attention problem. You need more eyeballs for your art, for your photography to be able to sell it. Stated another way, you all have a marketing problem. I know that conclusively because I've talked to hundreds of you. I know that conclusively because every single solitary one of my customers still has a marketing problem. It's not something that gets solved overnight. It's not something that gets solved with one particular thing. It's something that we constantly need to be working on. Attention, quite literally, is the currency of the land that we live in. It is the currency of the land that we live in. Stated a few different ways. One, I would love to sit on this call and tell you that the best artist, the best art, the best photographer, the best photographs win. They don't win. The best art or the best photography that gets seen wins. That is the stuff that sells. It's sadly, it is not a meritocracy initially on your talent with a lens or your talent with a brush or your medium. It is a meritocracy on your marketing. That is what defines a successful art or photography business in today's day and age. I wish it weren't the case, but it is. And you know, I have a couple of different ways of sort of spinning it, but that, you know, the number one way that I love to be controversial and talk about the attention problem is I always ask, okay, who are some of the most powerful women in the entire world right now? Any ideas? It is the Kardashian slash Jenners, okay? And we can all have an argument, a debate about how these women went and acquired the attention that they did, but we cannot have a debate about the fact that these women have not exactly flown commercial in the last 15 years, right? They all have $100 million a year businesses or whatever, you know, crazy businesses, because they understand attention is the currency of the land. You could even state it another way, that if any of these surgically altered, well-endowed women decided to start painting tomorrow or decided to start a photography career tomorrow, they would have a $10 million business year one. Why? Because attention is the currency of the land. It's just that simple. So we'll get more into the attention as we go. The next block up of the pyramid has an outer portion and inner portion. The outer portion is the business model, number one, and number two, a collector list. So let's talk briefly about the business model. You have to be selling direct. You have to be selling direct. There can be no one in between you and the end consumer. You have to be selling direct such that you retain the collector information, okay, on your buyers, such that you are able to build a collector list, okay? And, you know, again, I've been doing this a long time. I have access to all of my customers' data, so I know the people that are actually making a lot of money. Not the ones that have the most social following or have the most prestige in the community, the ones that have actual businesses, okay? And this notion of a collector list, I originally got from Weiland. And this is this book he wrote, Don't Be a Starving Artist. It's an awesome book. It is a quick read. Why would you want to take that guy's advice? He's the #1 best-selling artist in the United States. Apparently, it's not even close. So the guy knows what he's talking about, right? What does Weiland say about a collector list? He defines it as someone that will purchase in upwards of 8+ pieces of art from him over the course of a lifetime. Sometimes it's many more pieces of art. So Weiland keeps creating. He raises his prices. And these people go along for the ride with Weiland. And they just keep buying and buying and buying. He goes in like tactical in this book about how you take care of them, some of the things that he does. He puts them on his Christmas card list, treats them like they're VIPs. He treats them like they're staying in the Four Seasons, right? And fundamentally, I would go out and say a collector list, okay, is without question one of the most important metrics for a successful art of photography business. The size of the list and the health of the list is directly proportional to how much revenue that business builds. Yeah, Tim, I love that you read that book. It's phenomenal, right? And stated another way, and this is just so important to say, you guys are all essentially just commission salespeople. As an artist, as a photographer, you're trying to sell your work. When you do sell your work, you're paid a commission for selling it. But if you don't go out and pound the pavement, if you don't go out and attempt to sell the work, then you get paid nothing, right? So having a collector list and having a healthy collector list takes you from a commission salesperson and it turns you into a commission salesperson with a base salary. Starts out small, maybe it's 5 or 10 grand a year, and then it grows from there. And as you grow the business, as you build the collector list, as you start taking care of it, you are automatically paid a base salary. And what ends up happening, to keep the math simple, you create a series with 10 pieces of work in it, and you're going to release it to the public on Wednesday. On Sunday night, you send it to your collector list. Hey, collectors, patrons, I appreciate you guys so much for the support. Just wanted to let you know I came out with a brand new series. It's got 10 pieces in it, and you guys get the first look. I'm going to release it to the public on Wednesday. And what happens is those collectors buy some portion of the 10 pieces, and maybe it's just one piece out of the 10, in which case you sold 10% of the work that you were about to create before the public even got to see it. In some cases, I see the percentages as high as 50, 60%. 50 to 60% of a new series that an artist create is bought automatically just because these people are maintaining a collector list. So it's literally you guys getting paid for waking up, for just creating, for going to your studio, okay? And it is so fundamentally important to a potential art of photography business, I can't even begin to tell you. It is the night and day difference. It was the difference between the people that COVID hit, people had collector lists, people didn't. The people that didn't, all of a sudden, were not selling anything and had no recourse. They didn't know what to do. They just, am I just going to sit and wait it out? All my galleries are closed. The show and fair circuit is closed. Versus the people that did have the collector list, okay, who just continued selling throughout the entire pandemic. It is fundamentally part and parcel one of the most important metrics that an art or photography business could have, and it underpins why the business model of selling direct is so important. You want to make it in this business, you want to control the rules, you want to not be able to have the rug pulled out underneath you, the business model and the collector list is where it starts. Once we're working on our attention, once we understand the business model, once we're building and nurturing a collector list, then there's 3 ways to sell art. I believe every artist, every photographer, number 1, needs to understand these 3, and then needs to deploy these 3 where applicable, okay? What's the best way? Everyone knows it. It's in person, face to face. Always has been, always will be. That's never going to change. Problem, though, okay, you, me, all of us are geographically fixed on this planet. We can't be in 100 different places at once, and we have to sleep, okay? And we can't have 15 conversations at once. So the next way is the website. You need to have the website. Your art needs to be on the website. It needs to be available for purchase. Once you have that sorted, the 2 of the most important, you can start working on the newest way, okay? The way the entire art and photography world is trying to figure out, and it's via live video. It's via live video in a one-to-one context or a one-to-many context, okay? Let's start with one-to-one. Let's say I follow Elliot here on Instagram, and Elliot's posting occasionally on Instagram, and I see one of Elliot's pieces, and I'm writing him a DM on Instagram. Elliot, that piece is really interesting. I'm actually looking for some art for a second home I've just purchased. I was wondering if we could jump on a video call and you could explain some of your pieces to me and what they cost and some options. And Elliot goes, no problem, Patrick. When do you want to do it? Here's the Zoom link. We jump into a Zoom call, exactly like we're doing right now. Elliot's holding up his pieces. He's merchandising them. He's talking about his inspiration. I'm getting to know him, and he sells the art, okay? Fantastically powerful way to sell art when you can't do it face-to-face. That's the one-to-one. What is the one-to-many? The one-to-many is selling your art via live video in what we like to call a live art show, okay? Now, the gentleman in question here, longtime friend and customer, Matthew Locke, he's a painter in Laval, which is in Quebec in Canada. And you can see he's in his garage studio, and he has a number of old works that he would like to move. He is talking about them. He is quoting price. He is streaming live to the various different socials, and he is taking questions in real time, and he's running a sale this way. He doesn't have to leave his house. This particular gentleman, over a 2-day period in the middle of COVID, so this was June 9th, 2020, sold, I believe, 62 pieces over these 2 sales for a little bit over $30,000 Canadian. He didn't have to leave his house. He did not pay a 50-50 split with a gallery. He maintained all the information on his collectors, and he had a massive shipping headache after this was all over. Okay, so you see something like this happen, And you have to stop and go, whoa, wait a minute. This guy sold $30,000 worth of art himself just by turning a camera on and streaming live to the socials? And the answer is yes, he did. This is the most significant advancement in this industry in history. And so, what did we do as a business? One, we were early to the streaming party. Two, let's just see if it's not just this guy, and let's see if you can duplicate it. So, what have we done since? We have run show after show after show with our customers, various different disciplines, various different media types. This particular gal is named Meg. She's a painter from Kansas City. She was moving from one studio into another, and so she had a bunch of smaller pieces and color studies and warm-up labs for the main piece that she was going to do, and sketches and the like. She had 80 pieces in this particular show. The show went down on a Wednesday. She emailed her collector list on Sunday. She sold 46% of the show to her collector list before the show even started. In this particular one, I think in total she sold 70 of the 81 pieces for a little bit over $13,000 US. And again, you know, there were smaller sketches and like little pieces and such. And so that's how it's gone. But since then, we've run one show after another show after another show with artists, with photographers, different subject matters, different material, different parts of the United States and in foreign countries. People wearing white gloves and not wearing white gloves, and on and on and on. And it is absolutely, full stop, the future of how art and photography is going to be sold. It's not even close. And just to give some color, like, your industry is not an industry that has a ton of reports, okay? There's two big companies that put one out on a yearly basis. This one's by Art Basel. They call it the Art Market Report 2021. And sort of the disclaimer on this report, despite the fact I really like it and I think it's awesome, is these guys really only survey the top 5% of the market. So, you know, the people well over six figures a year would probably be the best way to say it. But it's a killer report, and I'm going to send you this. There's a PDF. The global art market, auction sales, dealer sales, art fairs and exhibitions, and online sales. And I love this online sales section because, and I quote, Chapter 5 looks at the online art market and the rapid evolution in sales in 2021. The chapter shows how the dealer sector shifted sales online in 2020 and at the development of online viewing rooms, OVRs. And it goes on to talk about how much art was moved in 2020, okay, and how much of it was moved via OVRs. Do you know what an OVR is? It's a snooty way of saying a Zoom call, okay? The dealer or the artist representative gets on a Zoom call, maybe the artist in some cases. They discuss their art, their photography, exactly like the example I used with Elliot earlier, and they're selling directly to the high net worth individual. The high net worth individual does not need to leave their house. You know, it's phenomenal. So that the point, the takeaway in that is it doesn't matter if you're just getting started and you've never sold anything, or you're at the very, very top of the stack. This is what the entire art selling and photography selling world is trying to figure out right now in tandem, because it's the future. And when you think about it, it's the next best thing to being in person. And there's so many different abstractions of it, okay? Like, you know, in my one buddy Matthew's case here, let me see if I can find this one. He had a gallery show booked in the middle of COVID. And obviously people had to wear masks and social distance and no one could travel. So he knew that. He still went ahead with the show. And he did the best that he could with the show, sold some art to his collector list before it, sold some art day of the show. And then what did we do? We ran a live art show in the actual gallery. And he's got a glass of wine in his hand. People are leaving comments. It's streaming to all the socials. And he's walking the show in the gallery, just like you would walk the show if you were in the gallery. And he's talking about the various different pieces. And people are asking him questions. And you know, this is just the future of how this is going to be, full stop. You can go and attend a gallery show and almost feel like you're there and talk to the artist and ask questions live and bid on the pieces. And you can see which ones have the red dots and which ones are sold. And there's just so many things to learn, so many different ways to spin this particular process, but it is just so incredibly intimate and you feel like you're right there, right? So this is the future of selling art, full stop. It's a thing that we spend a tremendous amount of time teaching our customers. It's a thing we spend a tremendous amount of time just learning how to get better and better and better at. And there's so much trade craft that goes into it. So we can talk more about live art shows, but They're the future. Very, very big deal. So you have to have the three ways of selling art. You have to be working on attention. You have to have your business model in line, and you have to be building a collector list. Once you're working on all of those things, the top block of the pyramid is everything else. Have another revenue source in your business that's working? Fantastic. We love revenue sources. I don't care if it's a physical retail gallery or if it is a online Redbubble, Saatchi, Radiant 6, Fine Art America, Etsy, whatever you have going on, that's wonderful. But it's got to be in addition to working on the bottom blocks of the pyramid and working on them constantly. And the last slide in my presentation is just perspective. And, you know, one of the interesting things for me is that I talk to hundreds of you guys week in, week out. And one of the interesting things for me is on every single solitary week, there are people on these calls in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And what it makes me learn and realize is that you guys don't go through midlife crises. You don't all of a sudden decide at 50 that you're going to stop being a painter or stop being a photographer, and instead you're going to go drive Uber or become a restaurateur. Like, you guys are artists for life. So if you've had a career already and you didn't understand the business model and you were not building a collector list and you were not selling direct and all the various different things that I've outlined, you still have a lot of time to right the ship. Okay, you're going to be selling your art for the rest of your life. You can fix this and get on the path to where you're actually building the business. And also, to the perspective of how long it's going to take, right? It's a hard thing sometimes to hear that, you know, all of you guys, to a person on this call, you don't want to do any marketing. All you want to do is just create. You want to go out and shoot or be in your studio and paint, and you want someone else, okay, to take care of all of it for you. I know that. I know that. But guess what? The number one thing that you don't want to do is where the highest ROI is, which is actually work on marketing and growing the business. Having the perspective properly sorted and knowing how much time you have left to get this right and starting in and working on it it's the most important thing that you can do, full stop. You get that right, you have the right perspective in your head of how much time you have to do this, you're on the path to starting to grow a successful art or photography business, which is the whole ball game, right? So that's the presentation. That's the pyramid. I think it is critically important. All right, guys, thanks for indulging me on the recorded video. Again, my voice is just a little bit off. And I noticed, excuse me, that there was one part of the video that was cut off, right? And I've been doing this for a long time now. At Art Storefronts, we have 5,500 customers. We study their data. I know who sells the most originals. I know who sells the highest price originals. I know who sells the highest volume of originals. So too with commissions. So too with embellished prints. So too with who's selling the most metal prints and who's selling the most paper prints and canvas prints and framed art, and who has the highest AOV, average order value. And I've been running these sessions for going on almost a year and a half now. That is a year and a half now, basically since March. And I've talked to so many artists and photographers, and you know, on this call, as is on most of them, you get a mixed bag, right? You essentially have a bunch of creatives that are attempting to better monetize their creative talents. And you get people that are at different stages of the game. Some of you guys have, you know, you're just getting started. You never sold anything. You're trying to figure out how to do that. Some of you, like I said, are you have a side hustle, or you're sick of just being a hobbyist, and you want to turn it into a side hustle where it's providing some income. And some of you are like, yeah, I want to move from side hustle to maybe this could be my full-time job, or maybe I want to have something to retire on, or maybe you don't want to be in a situation again where COVID comes along and all of your avenues to sell are just gone and there's nothing that you can do about it. And as diverse a group that is, different parts of this country, different parts of other countries, you know, different in every way imaginable, niches and different followings to start with and the like. I found conclusively that you all have one thing in common. Every single solitary one of you has a marketing problem. It is the only problem you have that needs to be solved in the very near short term. And it's a problem that's not going away. And, you know, if most artists and photographers' art career and business is a boat, what I see everyone doing time and time again is running around and plugging the little holes that a tiny amount of water is coming in and ignoring the one where the gaping flood is coming into your boat. And that's the marketing problem. If you don't fix the marketing problem, you'll never be on the path to having a successful business. You'll never be in a situation where a pandemic or a lockdown or whatever else can completely change the rules and just rip the carpet out from underneath you in terms of your revenue sources. And it's really, really hard if you don't understand that pyramid, if you're not selling direct, if you're not building a collector list, if you're not working on your marketing. It's really, really hard to make it in this business. And I think, if you don't get that sorted, and don't take it as a sales pitch. It doesn't matter if you do it with us or you do it with another website provider or you hire a marketing consultant or whatever. But if year in, year out, you're not working on your marketing, and year in, year out, you're not building your own list that you can market to, your collector list, I think it's very, very difficult to make it in this industry. I think it's like going into a fight with an armed time behind your back. So can't stress that enough. Open it up to Q&A now. A couple of different ways to do it. Number one, if you're one of the brave ones that has your camera on, James is the only one. If you have a question, James, and you raise your hand, I'll see it. I'll know that you have a question. Good. He has a question. I'll answer. For everyone else, at the very bottom of the Zoom bar is like a reactions button, and you can click that reactions button, and there's a raise hand button. And what that lets me know is that you have a question, and I can unmute your mic. You can come on. You can literally ask me anything about anything that we do at Art Storefronts, where you are in your career, something you're struggling with, questions about niche selection or branding or pricing or gallery relationships, or anything from top to bottom. If you don't want to turn your camera on, you don't have to turn your camera on. I totally get it. I hate being on video personally. And if you've got questions and you're throwing them in the chat, like Robert, I see your question. I'll answer that in a second. Those are all good. I see those. I'll answer those. And then also, if you're one of the ones that's watching on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, I see those questions too, in comments, and I can bring those into the stream, and we can talk about them and answer them in good order. And James, you do have a question? I'm unmuting you right now, James. You have to hit the mic icon in the bottom left-hand corner. I'll let you know when you get it. If you don't unmute, James, I won't be able. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I have a question. I wanted to mention something very powerful happened.
Okay.
I've sold 20 paintings in my life.
Okay.
And I always show the work to people. I hang out in a cigar lounge and I do a lot of business there.
Okay.
I show the work and they say they like it, and it's, and I wait for them to indicate that they'd like to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't. Or once in a while they do, but very rarely.
Yes.
So then I went with what you said last week about to say, would you like to buy it? Or how about if you buy it?
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a Starbucks talking to the manager. I become friendly with him. And I showed him my painting, an original, and he hemmed and hawed. And I said, "Would you like to buy it?" And he said, "Yes." And he bought it with cash.
Boom.
And I sold a print to a friend in Colombia for $300, including shipping.
Nice. You're on the path, James.
That was yesterday.
So that's pretty good. So since the last time you attended one of these, you've sold 2 pieces.
Yep.
Boom. Love that.
And I want to thank you about your recommendation to say to somebody, would you like to buy it? Or how about if you buy it when we get this over?
Yep.
Now, my question is, when we talk about the printing outfit that you have, charging 15%, and when we talk about marking up a piece 250%, 250% of what?
Of your wholesale cost. So so what happens is that when you integrate with a printer, you get a price sheet no different than if you walked off the street and went into the printer, right? Like, here's what the sizes cost, here's what it's going to cost you. So you take that cost and then you in turn mark that up 250%, and that's what you offer as the sale price.
When you say when I walk into a printer, do you
so like if I had a print shop and you walked in, you said I want a 24 by 36, and they're going to go, okay, great. Here's what a 24 by 36 will cost you in canvas. Here's what a 24 by 36 will cost you in metal. So that's your price, right? We effectively call it the wholesale price.
Okay, I got that.
Yeah.
But what if we use your printer?
So if you use our printer, what happens is you get pretty significantly better pricing on a lot of items. Not 100% of items, but on a good amount of them, just because we have so many people on our platform that we get, negotiated pricing that's a little bit lower. So it's not massively lower, but it's lower. So it would be lower pricing than if you just walked into that same place off the street, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But what they take 15% of that price?
So there's transaction fees depending on what plan you're on, and I think at the low they're like 2%, and at the very highest they're at 15%. So the transaction fee is taken on the purchase price, I believe, of the print.
Okay, so I use your printer
Hmm.
and he says, I'm gonna charge you $100.
Yes.
And I pay $100?
Yeah. So what will happen is, like, let's say the print is going to cost you $100, right? You're going to sell it for $250, right? Which is the 200% markup. Am I correct on that? My maths are terrible. And
Right.
and then you will pay 15% on the $250 sale price.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But we also have a thing too that we do called wholesale ordering. And so with the wholesale ordering, you just pay $100 and you get the print shipped to you, right? And so when you have the print in hand, you can go sell it locally and you don't pay anything, right? You just pay the $100.
Oh, okay.
So,
But
so you
the
can do that too.
transaction fee is for the shipping and everything.
Correct. It's not the shipping. The customer pays the shipping, but it's more just essentially what it does. We charge a transaction fee such that we can provide staff to teach you marketing year long, right? Like, one of the things that we offer is sessions like these for all of our customers, Tuesdays and Thursdays, every single solitary week, aside from, I think we take 2 weeks off a year, in perpetuity. It never ends. We're essentially an art business university, right? It just goes on and on and on and on. So that's what it goes to pay for. Continuing marketing education, right? It's what everyone needs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, James. And keep asking, right? Like, look at the progress you made already, right? And the next time you ask and someone says, I really like this, that's really interesting, say, well, would you be interested in buying it? I'm selling it for $500. And if they say, probably not for $500, the next thing you say is, well, make me an offer. What would you pay for it? I'm curious. And then shut up and see what they say. That's instantaneously when you know whether or not they're serious. Thanks, James.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah. All right. So Robert had a question. I might as well unmute you, Robert, so you can ask it in person. So Robert's asking, what's my background? How do I get into the art space? And then can I also speak to Nick as well? You just want to know where we came from, both of us?
Yeah, pretty much, and how you wound up in this space as opposed to kind of applying this business model to a different space. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So Nick's the CEO. It's what Robert's asking. And I mean, if I go all the way back, we grew up in the same neighborhood. So there's that. We went to undergrad together. There's also that. We've owned businesses in the past, he and I. After college, he started a company called Breathing Color, which is like a massive manufacturer of fine art inkjet papers and canvases and metal and, glosses and everything that goes on top of it. So he ran that company for a number of years, and that's how he got into the art space. I had done some consulting for him during the course of that, and then had just been a marketing consultant and deep into marketing and owned my own businesses along the way. And then we started working together again on this one. So, like, in terms of combined experience in the industry, it's going on 20 plus years for him, 25 years for him, and it's like 15 for me on the various different sides, on the print side, and then on the selling art side. Hardcore on the selling art and photography side has been like the last, call it, almost 7 years now. And the difference, sort of the unique, nuanced beast of it is that selling art and photography is not like selling other things. It is so finicky. It is so different than, say, trying to run a traditional e-commerce business. I mean, don't get me wrong, it shares some common things, but the sales cycle is just completely different. And when you go out there as an artist or photographer and you look for an artist or photography specific marketing agency, there aren't any. You can't find any. No one ever tells me about any, even if like they do. I mean, it has to be a couple that exist, but the reason they don't exist at a macro is because it's so damn difficult and because it's an extremely low margin business unless you start with like the very, very top of the artist, right? So sort of our secret sauce, I think at this juncture is not even like I'm the best marketer in the history of mankind or he's the best CEO, but we've been monomaniacally focused on this particular problem for a long time now, more so than others. And I think when you combine just those reps and sets of doing it day after day after day, case study after case study after case study, marketing initiative after marketing initiative, how did you do? You know, how did it work? You build up a pretty good experience base, and that's been really, really interesting. And I think as the company's grown, now we have the power of data behind us, right? Like you go to the early years and like 500 customers or 1,000 customers. Well, now 5,500 plus customers, and you know it's not hyperbole when I say we really study their data, and you get to really see who's actually moving art and who's talking about moving art, and that's been like a really, really fascinating journey, I'd say.
Thanks for sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. We're pretty transparent about all that.
I got a follow-up question.
Please.
Um, when it comes to branding,
Mhm.
what kind of assistance can you guys offer as far as kind of discussions about branding and stuff? Because I'm kind of having a branding issue.
No, you're
I
not.
always have. I'm not a marketing guy, you know, as I'm sure most of us aren't. We're creatives, so
Yep.
um, you know, I have my photography, which I've only actually pivoted to in the last few years.
Okay.
My background is in music and audio engineering,
Okay.
so um, but you know, this is the next chapter for me. So you know, I've got my Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I just started posting on TikTok, um, and I have a YouTube channel as well.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to figure out. I'm kind of unsure exactly how do I make these things kind of fit together and play nicely together while still having some degree of separation. I think that's a good idea. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
You know, to make it all fit. You know, because I also started a creative agency this past year as well to do, you know, video. So I'm
Yep.
doing a lot of video as well. So I'm just trying to find another way to monetize the skills that I have right now, as well as the interest, because the photo and video kind of goes hand in hand
Oh, 100%.
for me.
100%. Yeah,
So
and you know, you think you have a branding problem. You actually don't have a branding problem. And the reason you don't have a branding problem is because you don't know whether or not you have a branding problem because you haven't gotten the brand in front of enough people to figure out whether you actually have a branding problem, right? Like the trap that we all fall into is like, I'm a cook, right? And I love making my meals. And I just keep making new meals and I only serve them to my family. And I'm like, that one's not that good. And then I go on to the next one, and then I go on to the next one, and then maybe I make another one. And the reality is that one of those meals might have been a home run. You'll never know because you didn't go and take it and serve it to enough people to get the feedback that it actually is a home run hit, right? That's number one. Number two, we all fall into this trap that you need to have the strong brand, and specifically that the brand is a direct reflection about one particular thing that you do rather than who you are as a human being. And it's just as important as who you are, Robert, as a human being, as it is what you create, right? Like the artist, the photographer is as much a part of the brand as whatever the particular type of medium that you're doing is, right? You take that fact and then you bolt on the fact that attention is the currency of the land. It further underscores you don't ever want to bifurcate any of that, right? Like followers are built one at a time. Sure, they might know you for your music or musical engineering prowess. Sure, they might know you for your video editing prowess. But guess what? Those people also buy photography too, right? And so if they know, like, and trust you, it is significantly easier to get them as a customer. So you don't need to stress about any of that. You just need to start doing consistent marketing, which you're not doing, right? You're all over the place. You need to focus on the highest ROI areas. You need to, exactly like the presentation said, got to have your art up on the website, got to be marketing consistently all year long, and you got to be having sales when the time is right. And I would say, vis-a-vis you contemplating joining us, where you would win that others don't necessarily win is you have a marketing problem. You need to solve the marketing problem. That's not going to happen overnight. It takes a long time for us to teach people how to market. You have to learn how all of the basics. You have to be capturing emails all the time. You have to be emailing the emails all the time. You have to understand the concepts of omni-channel marketing, which how do you make your email message dovetail with your Instagram message, dovetail with your Facebook message, bolt on paid advertising on that. You need to understand how to run a sale and what the mechanics look like of running a sale. When do you announce a sale? How do you tease a sale? What do you do during a sale? How do you extend it? How do you think about the markups and such? And that's a process, right? And fundamentally, if you rewind this business for as long as I've been in it, one thing is abundantly clear and consistent. The successful ones do the same thing year after year after year. And the only difference between the year previous and the year after is they're a little bit better at all the various different facets of marketing. Normal marketing, sale. Normal marketing, sale. Normal marketing, sale. Type head comes back and the whole thing repeats again. So once you learn that, all of those things, fundamentally, you'll be way more effective at getting attention for your video editing business. And you'll figure out if you have a market for your photography, if you don't. If you don't, then you pivot to what your particular shooting stuff is, right? And you come up with something that does work. But underpinning all of it, the biggest problem is the marketing. And if you don't solve it, all the rest of that stuff is nonsense and worthless. Nobody cares whether or not the messaging dovetails on your TikTok versus your YouTube versus your Facebook. No one's saying, hey, Robert, I was going to buy your photography, but because the messaging doesn't dovetail on your TikTok, your YouTube, your Facebook, I'm not buying it. Nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. Irrelevant, right? So the point is, like, when I, when I say the hole in the boat, and I'm not knocking you for this. The only reason I know this is because I've done this my entire life, right? Like, your boat's there, and there's this huge hole in the boat, and it's sinking, which is not taking care of the marketing problem. And instead, we're sticking our finger in the branding hole, right? We're sticking our finger in, like, if I just make my TikTok profile cool. And that's not the issue. The issue is that consistent marketing year in, year out, and never stopping. That's the ballgame.
Okay.
What kind of stuff do you shoot, though, just out of curiosity?
More nature landscape
Yeah.
type stuff. Also astrophotography.
Cool.
A lot of time lapses.
Yeah. I mean, a great way, like, and I'll give you this as just sort of the final is, there's so many service-based photographers, right, that are essentially, at the end of the day, you're trading dollars for hours, right? You have a finite amount of time where you can shoot. You have a finite amount of time to edit. You do a shoot, you get paid $500, right? And so many of those types of customers, and they're like, I want to grow my fine art business because I realize I can't shoot weddings every weekend for the rest of my life. I can't constantly be doing AYSO pictures or children's portraits or the Christmas cards or whatever else it is. And where all of those folks fail is none of their customers even know they're trying to sell the fine art, right? Or some like really, really small percentage. And what happens is because you build up the trust of all those people, right? All of those people know, like, and trust you. You've taken their Christmas card. You took the AYSO photos, whatever you did. You shot their wedding, right? If they just knew that you had fine art available and you were marketing to them consistently, guess what happens to those people? They move up. They move to other parts of the country. They downsize. They move somewhere else. They need art. And if they know that you have it and it's available, you stand such a better chance at getting that sale because you're top of mind when their need for art arises, right? And so that'll be, an opportunity for you as you continue to grow the video side of the business.
Okay. Message heard. Thank you.
Yeah. I told you, Robert, I've been doing this a while now.
No, I mean, I've been hearing this for years, and that's always been one of my biggest downfalls, regardless of what craft or profession I was in. It's the marketing part.
Yep.
It's just not something that I prefer to do, so I avoid it.
Oh,
Basically.
100%. 100%.
And nowadays, with the whole kind of mantra about letting people know your story and stuff, I don't like being on camera. I don't like talking in front of people. So that's always a struggle for me as well. I mean, it's
you should have seen me pre-COVID. You know how many times I was on video for this company pre-COVID? Zero. Not once. Yeah, I had a podcast for years and years and years, but that was audio. I hate being on camera. But you know what? I got contrarian. I saw the writing on the wall. It's like, I'm going to need to start doing this. I don't like it. I have a face for radio, but you know what? I saw how effective it was, and now I'm live broadcasting like 5 days a week, sometimes 3 sessions a day. It's not for my health, Robert.
And you guys can help with all of that.
That's what we teach. That's what we teach all year long. Like the simplest thing that we do is an analogy. Is
I streamed before, so
I know no one has, and by and large, like especially not most artists and photographers, but we're essentially just a trainer, right? Like you're saying, I want to work out and I want to get fit, and what you've read your whole life up till now is, here's a workout, Robert, go do it, and then you look at the workout and you're like, I hate all this, I don't want to do this. Right? And if you do it once, but then you run out of steam and you get tired and you don't finish it. Well, what happens when you have someone with a whistle screaming and yelling and poking and prodding you that you paid money to? You do the workout. You do the workout. And then also, when you're, instead of a solo workout with the trainer, you're doing a group workout with the trainer. Turns out there's a healthy little competition going on there. You want to beat your neighbor. Your neighbor kicked your butt on something. You want to beat him on the next one, and so on and so forth. That's fundamentally what we do at the end of the day, and it never stops. We are a full-featured art business university that teaches art and business marketing, except the learning never stops. There's no graduates because the goalposts move in this industry too quickly. That's what I would say.
All right, cool.
We
Thank
can
you, Pat.
we can help you, Robert. I mean, you have to decide, but we can help you. All right, Eric, you are up next. And hold on, Robert, I got to mute you. I don't know how I found you. There, gotcha. Okay. Eric, you're up next. Go ahead, Eric.
Aaron.
Oh, Aaron.
Hi.
Sorry.
I actually have a different take on this, and maybe we can continue this offline. But
Sure.
I'm an arts administrator, so
Okay.
I work for the Arts Council for Monterey County.
Okay.
And we employ teaching artists. We also host an artist collaborative, and we have a large artist community here in Monterey, Carmel County. And we do workshops, quarterly workshops to based for solutions for the busy creative. And so I was hoping that we could work together to provide a small presentation like you just did, of course, with the follow-up marketing for your own tools, but wanted to know, since we're not a member, if that would be something that you could do for us, to our constituents and our artists.
All day. Say when.
Okay. October 22nd. It's a Friday at 10 a.m. I'll email you.
Yep. Just email me. Like, I don't even have to prepare, which is not me being braggadocious, I promise. Like, I do so many of these things that it's just like, oh, which one do you want to talk about? But yeah,
Wonderful.
that I am highly opinionated. Okay, stubborn, a little cocky, a little arrogant, and the only distinction that I make is that we're attempting to solve the starving artist problem, and it frustrates the hell out of me. And I believe that the gallery relationship. And so I'm embarrassed to say I've never been to Monterey, and I live in Southern California, so I'm really, really close. I find the gallery relationship, and I say this like one town south of me is Laguna Beach. There's more art galleries there than just about anywhere, right? Where you are, there's so many art galleries and everything else, and it's like I find that relationship to be so damn exploitative. I can't even begin to tell you. A 50-50 split in which you do not retain the information on who purchased your art, so you can never sell art to them again for the rest of your career. And these things infuriate me. Like, they infuriate me, right? Like, our whole mantra is, do you want to monetize your creative talents and make a business out of it? Here's the way to roll. Here's how we look at that. Here's what we think needs to happen. And that pyramid at the top doesn't mean you need to sign up with us or be a customer, right? But you fundamentally have to follow it. And if you don't, like, I see the people whose businesses do not grow year over year over year. And then I see the ones that do grow year over year over year. And it's like, doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean you're going to have a $100,000 business year 3. But guess what? It starts getting easier year 5, year 6, year 7. Oh, and then guess what? You're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. And so do you want to have a roaring business in your 60s? Because you're still going to be creating art in your 60s. So yes, I'd be happy to do it. Just forewarn you, content's under pressure.
I feel forewarned.
Okay.
And really, I mean, it's just nice to have someone else remind them that they need to do it. So I think it would be a great collaboration, and I'll be in touch.
Yep. Just email me. Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. Who else? Questions? What I didn't do in my screen share, and this is critically important, and you guys can contemplate if you've got questions. But I want to show this is, you saw the pyramid earlier. I want to show you this. There's 22 days, 5 hours, 11 minutes, and 21 seconds until the start of Q4. Okay, Q4 is the fourth quarter. What happens in Q4 is more art and photography is traditionally sold in the last 3 months of the year than at any other time. Usually, sometimes for some people, the other 3 quarters combined. And the difference between the people that make money in the fourth quarter and don't are the ones that simply show up, do some marketing, okay, and run a sale. Run a sale on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. If you don't do that this year, like all the years previous, you don't stand a chance of making any money in the busiest art selling time of the year. So there's still time to get up. There's still time to get going and running. And this one is going to be a huge one because, you know, Delta is out there raging, and a lot of the shows and fairs are not opening back up. And, you know, a lot of the galleries are still closed. And so the available places in which you can buy art or photography are significantly decreased from years previous. So it is a fantastic time to focus on your marketing and take it seriously. And there's still time to get up, running, and ready. So that's what I would say. But what else, guys? Questions? Can be about anything. We have a smaller group, so I can kind of poke and prod you guys. But Ronald, Scott, Roxanne, Paula, Mark, James, you've got them. let me know. Otherwise, we can wrap up today, and I hope to see you guys all on a future one. Hope you found today valuable, and sorry for the pre-recorded early on. My voice is just kind of running out of steam here. All right. Okay, Scott's got one. I'm going to unmute you, Scott. I see that you're on the phone, but it's all good. You can just press unmute on the phone, and I should be able to hear you okay.
Yes, you can hear me, Patrick?
Yep, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, Patrick, you mentioned quite a bit about marketing.
Yes.
But you're not terribly specific on it. I assume that the majority of your clients are getting their business offline. So I'll assume that they have pretty extensive search results.
No.
Nope.
Nonsense.
Nonsense. They do not.
Nope.
How does Patrick? How does an individual find one of your artists even in the 5,500 artists that you represent? What is the channel
it's proactive marketing
connection between the public and your clients?
Yep. So your question kind of came in two parts. I'm going to deal with the first one. Search engine optimization, okay, and putting in keywords and metadata on your website, and then people typing things into the search browser and then purchasing art. A significantly small amount of art is sold in that fashion. That's just not how art of photography sells. It's one of the biggest lies that's ever sold. And number two, it's extremely difficult to even get to any of the high-ranking keywords that actually might sell art. Like,
that most agrees on that.
I know. Trust me, I know. So I mean, so again, that's like I can make this kind of calls because I see the data. So that's a total waste of time. What you have to do is proactive marketing, right? And so at a macro, big picture, and then I'll give you some specifics. You have to be capturing emails all year long, and there's a bunch of different ways that we do that. I mean, you can think of, if we're going fishing, there's a bunch of different ponds that we fish in. Some of them are in the digital world, some of them are in the in-personal world. But you constantly have to be capturing emails, and you need a system for that. And then you need to be emailing the emails on a regular basis. And then you need to be posting on the social media sites on a regular basis because that's where all the eyeballs are, right? And collectively, you're doing that. People are coming into your ecosystem from these various different venues, offline, online, and you do that consistently, and it takes time to get going at first. You know, all email addresses, all followers, all fans are built one at a time. And you do that consistently, you have sales when the time of year is right. And it is by proactively reaching out, letting them know that you're available, that you have art for sale, that art and photography is sold, that good-sized businesses are built. And it's not a surprise. It's how everyone's building their business.
This is the heavy lifting of the marketing.
Yes.
An individual doing a blog, posting on his Facebook, posting on his Instagram,
yes,
and drawing those customers into your
ecosystem, yes,
your forum, and then collecting that data on them again through your system. But when you look, Patrick, at your analytics on your sites, you can see where people are coming from. You can see geographically. You can see if they're bouncing off a website or the direction that they're going. So most of your clients are brought to the websites on the back of the individual who's directing them there, not necessarily in a search engine, not necessarily off of a blog that has been written about their work or something like that. But
no, I mean
it's a connection that they have on Facebook or something.
The blogs sometimes, or like let's say you got some PR sometimes, right? Like it tends to be like I said, you fish in different ponds, right? And then you get them into your ecosystem. But where your mind might be at, Scott, is a little bit flawed, is thinking people at the spur of the moment decide that they need a piece of art, go to the internet, try and find it, and then purchase it right then and there. Now, does that happen? Yeah, it happens. If my guess is if 100 pieces of art are sold, it happens 3 times out of 100. The rest of the time, people go looking that same intent, and they don't buy anything, but they find a couple of artists that they like. and they get on their email list, or they bookmark their website, or they follow them on Instagram, or they follow them on Facebook. And then what happens? That artist does normal, consistent marketing all year long. And then 6 months down the line, that artist has a sale and that person ends up buying. And do you know who it is? Yeah, early on, okay, you're not going to be selling a whole lot, right? And so early on, if you get a sale, one of the best uses of your time is getting that buyer on the phone, or getting that buyer on a video chat and having a conversation with them and trying to discover what it was that attracted them to you, right? Like, how did they find you, right? Like, how long have they been following you? These are the types of questions we encourage people to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
then you repeat those types of behaviors. But the artist and photographer community has been sold the biggest false bill of goods ever, which is there's some sort of easy passive way to do this, where you just throw images up on a website, or you upload them into a marketing like an online gallery, and that fish are all of a sudden going to jump in the boat and you're going to have a career. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And if it does, it's unicorns. It's like, the one out of 1,000 or the one out of 10,000 probably.
But Patrick, if I utilize your website, and let's say I have an email, they sign up for email. They sign up for email. I can look and I can track how many times that customer's been back and forth to my site. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, within reason, right? Like, our technology is industry standard there, so we have the same technology that everyone else does. But what you'll find is, if that person, okay, well, who am I kidding? Our technology is way better than normal. We have some advanced tracking stuff, but again, I've been doing this for a long time, and no one's digital analytics are perfect, which is why you have to get people on the phone, right? Because what happens is that they're at a computer at work and they're on your website and checking it out, and then they go home and they sit on the couch with their wife and they show the work on the cell phone, and then they go to their office and they buy it. And so they've had 3 different devices where they looked at your work. How the hell are you going to know who that was, right? Now, in some cases you might, but in a lot of cases you won't. Right? In a lot of cases, you just won't have any idea until you get them
Patrick,
on the phone and ask them.
If I post a link on my Facebook and somebody reposts that link, and all of a sudden my site blows up, I'll be able to see that. Correct?
Yes. You will be able to see it. But again, you're stressing about the easy problems. The hard problem is getting that sale in the first place, right? All the energy, all the focus should be worried about how you're going to get that sale. Everything that comes afterwards, easy peasy.
So, yeah, well, there has to be some ratio between a frequency of use of the site and sales. I mean, I don't think there's too many people that have got 10 visitors per month and they're selling 10 pictures.
That's for
but
sure.
Somebody who's got 50,000 visitors on their site and they sell 300, there is some ratio going on there. And there also has to be a channel for that. And if it is done online, I understand it can be through word of mouth, but also online, there's thousands of organizations. I take pictures of barns, and I'm in the National Barn Registry, and I post a link to my site, and all of a sudden, this is not only where I'm getting my traffic, but it's where I'm getting my revenue. And there has to be obviously some kind of channel that I'll assume that on the back end of your system, you can be aware of. I can be aware of as a as an owner and marketer of the site.
We have detailed analytics. We have detailed analytics for sure. But again, we're having this conversation, right? And I'm enjoying it, Scott. And we're sitting here talking about all the things that are potential after somebody comes into the restaurant and sits down and orders a meal. But we're not talking about what work are you going to start doing right now to get the customer to come in and order a meal, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the focus is wrong. Like today's problems for today, and I always say this because everyone gets hung up on all the things that happen after the sale. Well, those are all easy. The hardest thing to do is get the sale, right? So you got to get the sale, and you got to constantly be asking yourself, is what I'm working on helping me to get another sale?
Gotcha.
Yeah, but don't worry, the tracking is not a problem.
Okay, that was my question.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. All right, guys. Thanks for attending. I think we leave it there. Hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. And